So my name is Sonia Redwine. I am the director of the RISE Center, which stands for Recovery and Intervention Support and Education. It's just too long to put on a name tag. So RISE Center it is. We do everything from any type of alcohol and drug education, harm reduction strategies, right? Making sure we're trying to create a healthy and safe campus for students to be successful. Additionally, we oversee all of our recovery support services. So we are responsible for doing peer support groups. We offer a 12-step group, smart recovery. We're looking into a Dharma recovery group in the spring. So different recovery pathways for our students who identify as students in recovery to make sure they have a sense of community and can get connected to their peers, but also resources on campus. So today I was asked to come and talk about Naloxone. So tell me y'all's familiarity about Naloxone, Narcan, any of those types of things. What have you heard? What do you know?
That it's a nasal spray for opioid overdose.
Yeah, great. Okay, training done. No. Yeah, so it is.
It works instantly.
It does.
Crazy.
Usually takes about 2 to 3 minutes or so. But it is a type of reversal drug, safe to use. Like I could give it to myself right now and I would be fine. So that's one of the great advantages of it is that even if it's not an opioid overdose, you can go ahead and administer it if you didn't know, and it's not going to have any negative impacts on the individual, right? If it is an opioid overdose, we're going to hopefully have some extra time there to get emergency responders on the premise so that they can continuing to render aid to that individual. Why do you think this is important? What do we know about opioid overdose, and particularly for young people? Tell me what y'all know.
It's very prevalent in this age group that we deal with right now.
Saves lives.
Yeah.
Crazy. The access to things now is so much higher.
Yeah, so what we're seeing is definitely trend-wise, nationally we're seeing an increased number of overdose deaths in the U.S., really increasing even before the pandemic, but significantly after 2020. Our most at-risk population is our 15 to 24 age range, which hits a lot of our students here on campus, right? And it is becoming, what we're seeing is drugs being more, being laced with fentanyl in particular, which is a very, very strong opioid medication. And it does have actual, prescription use for it, but we're seeing that and when used incorrectly can particularly have harmful effects. Texas overall was lower on the end. We're starting to catch up, and we're catching up very quickly, unfortunately. And so there's been some laws put in place, a lot of trying to put some support around opioid response here in Texas. And so Narcan is one of those things that they're really trying to get out into the communities widespread. So just kind of recap what I just said, right? So in 2022, over 100,000 people died by overdose. Texas and Washington saw the biggest increases in drug fatalities last year. In Texas, 5 people died every day from fentanyl in 2022. And then unintentional injury is the leading cause of death among our young people, and that does include overdose. And we are seeing an increased number of those unintentional injuries. So it's very, very timely, right, that we're doing this type of training for our campus. So some signs of overdose. This correlates with most signs of most overdoses, right? There's a couple of caveats specific to opioid. the pinpoint pupils is going to be one of those that kind of distinguishes it from other types of drugs. But if we notice any of these things, right, whether it is a stimulant, whether it is a alcohol overdose, we want to make sure that if we see these things that we're calling for help quickly. So unusual sleepiness or unresponsiveness, breathing will be slow or absent, slow heartbeat or low blood pressure, the skin feels cold and clammy, the pupils are tiny, and then the nails and lips may be blue. So what do we know about opioids as a type of drug? Which type of drug is it? Stimulant, depressant, hallucinogen? Yeah, so it's going to be a depressant, right? So typically it's a painkiller. That's what the prescription use is for. So it's going to slow down our central nervous system. That's why you're seeing all this with the slow heartbeat, reduced blood pressure, trouble breathing. It's because it's slowing everything down in our nervous system. And when that happens, right, we're not getting blood flow to our brain in particular, but to our extremities. That's why you're going to see the people be cold and clammy, and then the nails and lips may be blue. And again, so if we notice any of those things, we want to respond pretty quickly. And this goes along with your handout. This is a little bit more updated. But what we do, so if we notice any of these things, we arrive on scene, it could be a variety of situations, right? But if we notice someone that's unconscious, unresponsive, first thing to do, right, is say, hey, you, call 911, okay? Second thing is we want to make sure that we're laying them down and we're opening up their airways. Particularly, we want to put them in a recovery position. How many of you are familiar with like CPR, first aid? Yeah. So recovery position, right? We're laying them down on a flat surface, nothing too soft. And we're rolling their leg over to kind of prop them up. We're using their hands to prop up their head, all of that to help make sure that we're opening up airways and that in the event of vomiting, we're reducing the risk of aspiration, right? So we're going to lay them down. Another thing that we can do is a sternum rub to see if that wakes up somebody. If it doesn't, right, we want to go ahead and administer the nasal spray. So I have an expired one here to demonstrate for you. It is, and I'll pass this around so you can see it. It really is, if you've ever had allergies, you've had to use Nasonex or something like that, it is just like that, right? It's a single dose, and so it's pretty easy to use. Well, I said that, but this one's already been used. No, it hasn't. It's a single dose. It's easy to use. You just put it in the nostril, pinch on one side, and then you insert it and you do the plunger all the way, right? So, right, just like that. And then it stays in there. You know you've used it all. As soon as you do that again, make sure they're in a recovery position, and then we're going to call 911 immediately. Especially with fentanyl, it sometimes takes a couple of doses because it's such a potent drug, and so it may require two doses. A typical Narcan, which is the name brand, Naloxone, comes with 2 nasal sprays, and so you have those 2 available. And it's really, really easy to use. You stay with the person until first responders arrive on scene, so we can ensure that they're getting the support they need. Here in the state of Texas, we do have some state laws in place regarding amnesty. And so if you are an individual that may have also been under the influence, but you're rendering aid, cooperating with first responders, being that person who calls, but who stays with the person, as part of the process, if there are if there is criminal conduct and you're having to go through a court process, your defense, part of your defense can be that you're rendering aid. right? So that's part of the law. It's not as strong as some other laws in other states, but we're definitely moving in the right direction. If it's for alcohol, 911 Lifeline law is one here in the state of Texas, and so if there is a minor under the age of 21 that has also been drinking but is rendering aid, then they will not get a minor in consumption or a minor in possession ticket. So again, trying to encourage people who may be fearful of calling first responders and working with law enforcement. They're very active in trying to get this word out, right? Because they're the ones who have to arrive on scene, and that's not something that they want to. They want to make sure they're saving lives as well. So trying to reduce as many impacts, barriers to individuals wanting to call or seek help. Let's see. Where you can get it. So starting like maybe today, maybe here in the next few weeks. I don't think they've put the marketing out yet. But all AED machines on campus will have Narcan or Naloxone available. So you can see that as long as you know where the AED machines are on campus. Not everybody knows where those are either, right? But you can go to the risk management website and it shows where they all are. But we're trying to do, and again, reduce barriers to people accessing it. So those will be available across campus. You'll see materials out there so you can help disseminate that message, help us get that word out. You can buy it now over the counter. Cost about $40 or so. If you have insurance, you may be able to use insurance to purchase it as well. But it's just over the counter now with all your other over-the-counter medications. So that just happened this semester, so that's really exciting to see. And again, trying to reduce barriers to access. $40 can still be cost prohibitive. So there are many agencies across our community that try to distribute Narcan for free. We host events around campus, around the community. And we do have some boxes, and I brought some here if you would like to take one, available in the Rise Center, Chestnut Hall 301. So if anyone you know wants to carry on them, it's a great thing to have just available. So again, we're trying to make sure we're increasing access so folks have that if they want it.
Question.
Mhm.
How many doses are going to be in the AED
So it should be
machines?
2.
Okay.
And they'll be checking them monthly, just like they do their regular checks for the AED machines, so that they can replenish those as needed. Hopefully, we would know if something happened on campus, right? So that we could make sure that it gets replenished sooner. But definitely there'll be a monthly check in case people are just taking them because they feel like they need them. But trying to get that information out that we do have the boxes available to individuals. Yeah. What other questions? Yes.
Do you know if someone is administered 2 doses, like both of them, is it harmful? Because it says, I was reading this and it says every 2 to 3 minutes you can repeat it. So like, would it be harmful if they got 2 doses immediately?
So you want to wait to see if that first dose worked, and if it doesn't, then go ahead and get that second dose, right? So you're waiting about 2 to 3 minutes for that to work. So what it is, it's a blocker. It blocks the opioid receptors in our brain, so we need to give it a second for those to do their work. And again, if we're not seeing that, then we can re-administer. Yeah, good question. What other questions do y'all have? Either about this, about our services, anything that I can address or answer?
Are you? Sorry, go ahead. You were being more courteous than I was in raising your hand. Are you aware if it's been administered on campus and has saved a life yet? Since it's been out?
I know that we've had some individuals impacted by overdose. I think most of them have been off campus. And so it's one of those things, right, that it's important for us to have it available on campus should something happen, but we know that students are engaging in activities off campus. And So again, trying to encourage them to come and seek out Narcan if they're interested in it, making sure it's available. Any opportunity we have to come and talk to student organizations to kind of talk to them about it and reduce some of the misinformation that there might be about it, those types of things. Generally, in any reports, you can go to the UNTPD website and look at the different types of reports. None this semester that I know of.
So we work over at the Air Force ROTC detachment.
Yeah.
And we have quite a large amount of students. We have a health and wellness officer. Would you be okay if I gave your contact
Oh,
information to
absolutely.
them?
Yeah, absolutely.
We just try to provide a large swath of resources.
Yeah, so yeah, we're happy to come. Presentation would be similar. We can also incorporate some scenarios so that they get familiar with trying to get them comfortable in using those skills.
Okay.
And so happy to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. What other questions does anybody have? Okay, easy peasy. Again, my apologies. I appreciate y'all's patience and hanging in there. But we're excited that we're moving in such a positive way to make this more available on campus. And so yeah, as y'all see that, make sure you're sharing that with the students that you're interacting with and your colleagues.